Hello students, I hope you're doing well. Mr. Greg here, and today we're going to have a lot of fun because we're actually going to get this yellow rod, which looks ridiculous, moving and centered on our screen in relation to our measurement. And so should be a lot of fun. If you remember, we last left off, we had the yellow rod drawn and we were making the measurements. Arduino was making the measurements and it was sending that data over to Python, and Python is reading it and printing it out in its serial port. And so now we want to take this a step further. So I'm going to add this. I need you to go to the command line if you haven't already. Type in IDLE, get your Python up, open up your file from last week, and it should look like this. Hopefully pretty similar to this. And then we're just going to add to it rather than reinvent the wheel. So there's a couple things I need to tell you about. If you remember in Arduino, we would create a delay with a delay command. Well, sometimes you need a delay in Python, and the way that is done is you actually have to import a library called time. And so we're going to import time in case we do need a delay, which I predict that we will. And then we're going to want to import NumPy. And I'm going to explain more about NumPy in detail in future lessons. But for now, let's just import it. NUMPY, and we want to import it as NP. And again, I'll explain that in the future, but let's import NumPy as NP. All right. Now, you saw our rod and our little black scene box that we were creating, and it didn't look very good. And so I think we want to improve the way our data looks. And so what we want to do is set the scene up and the measurements of that. So we can change the size of that black box to, well, I'd say any size you want, but any size that your computer screen can handle. And you're going to do that in pixels. And the way you do that is you type in scene dot, we want to give it a width, right? Width. And this is in pixels now, not inches, pixels. And 800 pixels is what I have determined will look pretty good. And you may have to mess around with this when you're doing your own projects, but for now, let's just go with 800. And then obviously we need to give it a height, HT. And so we're going to make it symmetrical, right? 800 by 800 screen. All right. I like that. That looks good. And then we talked about putting a delay in there, and I just happen to know that putting a slight delay here is going to help. It's giving me suggestions I don't want. So time.sleep is the delay in Python. And we'll just give it a 1 second delay there. All right, I like that. And then we've got our measuring rod here. Now we've got the length at 6, as you can see here, and that's kind of how we set it up, just to make sure it was drawn correctly and it looked okay. But I don't think we want to start the length at 6 And of course, we want to vary this length with the data that comes from the Arduino. So I'm going to suggest we not do that. We start the length at 1 inch. So I'm going to change that to 1, and we may change that again. I don't know. We'll just see. We're just making it up. So that looks pretty good. Now we got to think about this a little bit. So what we did, we went in here, we read the data down here, and thankfully this week true is still true. And then we printed that data, right? We really want that print data to vary with the distance we're reading from the Arduino. So we need to enter another line here. So we've gotten rid of that silliness, that UTF silliness, but we really want to read the distance. So I'm going to create a new bucket, my distance, and that's going to be equal to my data, right? But our data, if you remember, is isn't just 1, 2, 3. We'll get like 1.3 inches, 2.7 inches, whatever it may be. And if you remember from Arduino, if you had an integer, then you would get the whole numbers, right? But if you wanted the in-between numbers, what would you type? Come on, class. Come on, come on. A float. Very good. We're going to do float of my data, like there. Now, instead of printing my data, we want to print my distance. Let's just think about this. Let's just run this and see if it works. Take a look at our screen, see if I get any errors. That horrible. All right. All right, well, our data's coming through okay, so that's good news. Let's just get out of this. Okay, so what is happening here is the Python is actually scaling the scene based on the information that we have given it. And so there's a couple of things I want to do. One thing, I'm going to come back up here to scene. And I'm going to give our scene a range. And that's going to equal 40. And then I'm going to turn off the auto scale. So I'm going to do scene dot auto scale, and that's going to be false with a capital F, and that will turn that auto scale off. Hopefully, we'll see. And then I'm going to come back down here, and I want the length of the rod, the measuring rod here, right? Instead of it being 1, I want to start it off as 1, but I want it to change with my distance. So what if I came down here and said measuring rod, make sure I spell it the same way I did before, dot length is equal to my distance. I wonder if that would work. Let's run it and see. Well, it's changing. It's changing. Let's see here. If you take your mouse and you hold down the right button, you can manipulate this thing where you can see it a little better. Unfortunately, I don't have my mouse hooked up because I'm out of slots. I can turn it for sure. And let's see, if I move this, it changes. I like that. Let me hook my mouse up. Hold on. All right, I was able to get this where you can see it a little bit better. And now yours hopefully is changing as your distance changes. And it gets closer. That is pretty cool. So now what's happening in the real world is happening in our virtual world. And that's pretty cool. I like that. I think there's some adjustments we need to make. Remember, I told you a little bit about the spatial concept. Well, right square in the middle of this screen is 0, 0, 0. So you need to think about this as a graph. Maybe I should show you this. I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to close this out. Let's just understand what's going on here. I didn't plan this, as you can tell. Let's see here. Look at there. All right, cool. All right, so this is a two-dimensional screen, but it has a three-dimensional representation, and it's using that Cartesian axis, right? Right? So this is X, this is Y, and then in and out of the screen is Z, right? So down through the paper and coming back is the Z axis. And so the center of the screen is 0, 0, 0, right? And that's X, Y, Z. So we can actually manipulate our object in the screen based on our concept of this. So if I'm at 0, 0, 0 and I'm running off the screen here, what do I need to do? Well, obviously I need to move the starting point back this way. And so let's see if I can figure this out. So we go back to our measuring rod, and we've got a radius, we've got a length, a starting length. And then we want to give it a position, right? So I'm going to come right here. Oh, I'm trying to do it on that screen. Come right here. And I'm going to put Make sure I do this right now. Comma. Position is equal to, now it's a vector, right? V-E-C-T-O-R. So we're telling it where we want it to be on the screen, and we're creating a vector. I wish I had more time to go into vectors. So it's a vector, and that vector, based on messing around with this earlier, we want to start it on that x-axis at -20. I may adjust this because I've got some other things. And then in parentheses, make sure you have both parentheses, because this parentheses goes with this parentheses, and this parentheses goes with this one over here. And I don't know how many times I messed this up. So now that should start our rod further to the left. Let's just see. Run module. Ah. So I need to get this a little bit closer for you to see, like this. Oh, another problem. I got to set up my... Uh-oh, I had an error. What is this error? Value error, could not convert string to float. My distance float, my data. I think that is correct. I've got probably something going wrong here. My distance. Line 22. See these errors? They tell you which line it is. My distance equals my data. Let's spell that right. Look at this. My string, my distance. Float, my data. Could be a space problem here. That looks good. Maybe it's just got discombobulated. I'm gonna run it again. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. There we go. Don't see any problems with that. Could have just been, let's see, we're moving. Move the box away. Put the sensor up, hit it in the wall, boom. There we go. I like it. Change it. Well, that's pretty cool. Still have a long way to go, but I think, you know, getting this to adjust to the sensor is pretty cool. So I think I want to make this, and see, you can mess around with yours too. I want to make this a little bit larger. I'm going to get out of this. Instead of a radius of half, I think I'm going to do a 1-inch radius on that. I think that looks pretty good. I think I want to give my measuring rod a little title. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to create a label. See if I can do this while I'm teaching you on the fly. down here, give myself some space. I'm going to indent to here. We'll put it inside my if statement. I'm going to call it my label. My label. and I just wanted to read, right? And so I'm going to write, notice the apostrophe, distance is, give it some space, just like we did with Arduino. And then I'm going to add my distance, because that's what I wanted to say, not my. Do I want to do that, or do I want to do the data? I'm going to do distance, see how it works. My distance. Actually, I don't like the way it's turned colors there, but we'll see what happens. My label, my distance, right? I got to kind of define my label. And so I'm going to length, capital L, label, text. So we are doing a text. My label. And then I want to come up here and I'm going to put length, except for I'm going to spell it right, L-E-N-T-H, length, label, wow, label is equal to label. I'm going to tell it where it's going to be on the screen. Remember, we got a position. We got to make it a vector. Where's it going to be? On the X, I want it right in the middle. So 0. But I want it above my rod, my cylinder. And if you remember our graph, 0, 0, 0, well, if I could move up on a Cartesian graph, then that's a positive number. So I'm just going to guess 10 here, and then I don't want it in or out of the screen. So my Z is going to be 0. Then I'm going to create the text equals. So what this does, it creates the label even if you don't have any data. It will create that label, and so your viewer will know at least something is going on. The distance is, all right, and then you won't get any information because there won't be any to give you, but we do want to give our box a height. Man, I'm having trouble. H-E-I-G-H-T of, and this is pixels again, 30. All right, let's go over this, because length of the label, capital L, this is how we set it up, is the label, it's identifier. We're going to put it in the middle of the screen, 10 high, and no Z designation. All right, so it's going to have a text. It's going to call it distance is, and our box is going to have a height of 30. I probably should make a box of the length height, but let's just see what happens here. We may have to adjust this. Oh, I knew it. I knew something just did not look right about that. I knew it. All right, so this is good. This helps you understand that errors happen, and it gives me a big red line. So it obviously didn't like something here. My label is distance. Ah, look here. You probably noticed that. All right, let's see if this will run. Starting to look a little better. My distance is, I'm not getting any value. That's not good. Does this still move? This does not move because I have an error. What is my error? Let me close this. My error distance is, my distance type error can only concatenate string, not a float to a string. Ah, okay. I knew it didn't like that. I could just tell it didn't like that. So instead of this, I'm going to put, it's not liking the float, it wants a string because it is a label, makes sense. I'm going to put in here my data. All right, let's run this and see if it likes it. Run. Yes, I will save you. Come on. All right, so I move my target, my rod moves. I could probably make that. Probably make this bigger. If I had my mouse, I could really make this look cool. But all right, I like it. Let's see, let's move this here 10 inches. Wow, it's pretty accurate. Let's see, let's go to the wall 90 inches, go to the ceiling. Look at there, to this wall 23 inches. How about that? That is pretty cool. All right, well, so this is your homework. I need you to get the Python to this point. And now you can start really creating your virtual world. You can do some other things. Maybe you can type in a box. Maybe you could recreate this, the way the sonic sensor looks. I think you could do that. There's a lot of different things you can do. So I want you, your homework is to do this, get it working like this, and then start creating other things in your virtual world. And I want to be impressed because I know you can do it. So have any questions, give me a call, and have a great day. Bye.